Yeah, Coco.
Hi, welcome to my eclectic channel. My name is Agnes and I make videos for fun. We've been working on one of those little numbers. So the lining of the shell is all prepped. Before we go any further into assembling the vest, now is a great time to add the pockets to the outer shells. So we need to delve into the world of welt pockets, which I knew nothing about until I started this project. So I did quite a bit of research, and there are two types of welt pockets. There's the single welt pockets and double welt pockets. And then you can also add a flap to that. I wanted to make double welt pockets with a flap. I went through my blazer collection, blazer and coats, to look for a garment that had a similar fit to what the vest is going to have. And I found this blazer, and I was also looking for one with welt pocket. So this has it's an actual welt pocket. It's a double welt pocket and a flap. So actually exactly what I want. But the most important thing is the placement. So this is why I'm using this. Is I want to know where to put the pocket and how wide to make it. So I am going to go ahead and mark with pins because I have to do this on the right side. I'm going to mark where the pocket is going to go. So I'm going to lining up my vest with the front, and then I'm going to pin where the top of the pocket goes, and how wide it goes. So it goes quite close to my side seam. And the next thing I'm going to do before I go any further, it seems really wide, but I also don't want to make it too narrow, too small. Otherwise, I think it will also look funny. So I gotta hit the right size. I fear that this is a tad bit too wide. So actually, let me move that in a little bit. And then I'm going to pin my shoulders, because this so far is all, I have not pinned the shoulders, so, or I have not attached the shoulders. So I'm going to go ahead and pin the shoulders so I can do a fitting and see how I like the size and the placement of the pockets as I have marked with the pins. It's looking good. I really like the placement and the size. To make 100% sure before I start on the pocket, it's quite a lot of work and precise work, and then you have to cut through the fabric, and once you cut, you're done. It's permanent. So I'm a little nervous about it. So before I make any commitment, I'm going to work on the part that will not hurt the shell, and that is the flap. So I'm going to be using these as a template. I like them. They have the little rounded edges. So this is perfect as a template. So what I need to do is to cut those, copy them on paper. I'll actually use a piece of cardboard. Trace them on there. Add a generous seam allowance. I have to make them just a tad bit less wide because I chose to make on my vest, I reduced the width a little bit. At any rate, I'm going to make this template of the flap, and I'm going to make my flaps. And then I will pin them on my vest. And then I can truly see what the pockets are going to look like before I do any cutting on my vest. this is the basic template for the pocket flap without any seam allowances. So when I'm transferring this to the cardboard, I am going to be adding seam allowances. So first of all, up here, we're going to keep on going. Here, I'm just going to leave more than a seam allowance. I mean, this can be cut at the end. If you have too much fabric, it's fine. Not enough isn't. But then I'll just mark where this was, because we want to add. Now we want to add a 1/2 inch, 1.2 centimeters seam allowance to that. So I've cut some fabric, and here we want to use, obviously, the fashion fabric, the shell fabric, to make my 2 flaps. And what's going to happen here is that I will cut doubles. So I will be cutting my flap on a folded fabric. So I obtain 4 total, 2 for each flap. And before I do that, I want to put some interfacing on those 2 pieces of fabric. So here are my fused pieces. While I was at it, I also marked the crease. So I pressed them, folded in half, and this will allow me to easily mark and cut my pattern piece for the pocket flap. If I were less of a maverick, I really should have pinned them. That's kind of sloppy, but it should work. Next, I'm going to stitch along the round side. We don't need to stitch along the top with the 1/2 inch seam allowance that I planned on when drafting this. Alright, so there was nothing magical about the 1/2 inch seam allowance. It just makes it easy to guide on the machine. Now we need to turn these inside out, and there's quite a bit of curvature, there's small things, so the seam allowance does need to be trimmed now. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to trim it to a smaller seam allowance, and then at the corners I will remove more and nip. Make little notches, and that way when I turn them right side out, there won't be any bulk or folds. There is one. Nice. I'm going to turn the other one inside out, and I'm going to press them flat. I've pressed them flat, and it's very neat. I like the way they look. One can do some top stitching, but I'm not going to. I think this is a nice clean look. So these will be my pocket flaps. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pin them in place on the shell to get a sense of what the finished look might be. I'd say we have a winner. We'll continue to work on the pockets next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more.